Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how to begin planting in your aquaponics system. Here we have all the supplies that we're going to need to begin planting our aquaponics system today. As always, I'm going to have everything that you need listed on screen as we go along the video. So there's two different methods that we're going to be using today in order to begin our plants. The first is the direct sow method, where we're going to take our net pot filled with hydrotone, simply put it in the tower itself, and either introduce your seeds or your cuttings into it. The second method is the box method, where we take a box like this, we put our net pots and our hydrotone in there with a very low level of water so that our plants can grow up in a safe environment. Before we get into those two methods, what I'd first like to do is plant some papaya seeds in these containers surrounding our aquaponics system so that when they do grow up, we attract these beneficial wasps that go after the hornworms that are going to attack your tomatoes when they start growing. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to plant a flower mix and some sunflower seeds in the containers surrounding it as well, so that when we do get fruit-bearing plants, we're going to have a lot of pollinators buzzing around to pollinate them. What I'm going to be doing first today is we're going to be demonstrating the direct sow method using some cuttings that we got from other places in our garden. For this first one, I'm going to be using a 3-inch net pot that I fill up about halfway with hydrotone. And then I went and cut off a little piece of mint, and what we're going to do is we're just going to simply stick this into the net pot until it's hanging out the bottom here, and then we're going to place it in our tower. For the second one, I'm going to be using a 2-inch net pot, and these are some fresh chives that I got from my other aquaponics tank. We're just going to stick those in there so that they're a little anchored towards the bottom. And actually stick them through the bottom of the net pot if you can, so that they anchor in place a bit better. For this last one, we got a cutting of basil. Same thing, you just stick it through the bottom, fill it about halfway with hydrotone, and place it in your tower. Now I like to fill the bottom of my towers with my herbs and other plants like that because they tend to get really big, and I'm not trying to cut off the sunlight by putting them at the top or in the middle. For the next part of this method, I'm going to teach you the direct sow method by using seeds. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be planting some lettuce in some 2-inch net pots. What I like to do with the lettuce is I like to fill these net pots about halfway with the hydrotone and then place them in the tower and then go through and seed each individual net pot from there. So before I start seeding this tower with the lettuce, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn this tower on so that we can get the hydrotone just a little bit wet so that the seeds have something to stick to. So if you noticed while I was turning that on right there, you sometimes have to play around with the flow. So I had all of my flow going into my biofilter for right now because I wasn't using my towers. So I had to cut some of that flow back off a little bit just so that I can get a good pressure through my towers. So I've got my lettuce mix right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put several seeds in each net pot just in case some may not sprout, and that way we have a nice lettuce mixture when they do grow. Just lightly sprinkle them over the hydrotone, and in a few days they'll begin to sprout. If you put too much in, you can always thin them out later, but it's better to have more than to have net pots that aren't growing anything. The next method that I'm going to be showing you is the box method, where we take things like cucumber and tomatoes and we start them in a box inside of their net pots. And then once they get some roots that are reaching down into the water, we transfer them to our towers. So what I've got is just a simple Tupperware box. I've drilled some holes in the top so that we can get some sunlight through, and I've painted and I've painted the sides with black spray paint so that we don't get too much light in there, but we get just enough to simulate that seed buried in the ground. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take some water from your existing system that's already been fertilized and had iron added to it. And you fill this up just enough so that the hydrotone can get wet and stay wet inside the box. When we take our net pots, for these bigger plants like tomatoes and cucumbers, I like to use the 3-inch pots. And we fill these net pots about halfway, just like we were doing with all the other ones in the direct sow method. So as you can see here, I've just put a little bit of water in the bottom and filled up these net pots with the hydrotone just enough so that the seeds have a semi-dry place to be. The good thing about these boxes too is that you can take some duckweed while you're growing your seedlings inside of there and grow a little bit of duckweed in there as well, or at least have a second supply so that if one supply gets taken over by some pest, you're not completely out of luck. So what I'm going to be planting first are some Sweet Million tomato seeds. I also use the Sweet 100s and I get really good results in this system. So just like the direct sow method, we're just going to place these seeds on top. And sometimes I'll plant a couple just to make sure that I have 100% germination in my net pots. So we got 3 tomato plants. So what I'm going to be planting now are some cucumbers. I like to use smaller varieties like this pickle bush or cucamelons. And just like with everything else in the direct sow method, you're just going to place these seeds on top. So we just place the lid back on top of here. And I place it at the bottom of my tank, and in a few days those are going to start to sprout, and then we can transfer them into our towers. Planting in this aquaponics system is just as easy as what you've seen me do today. And over the next couple weeks I'm going to continue this video and show you the progress on these towers as well as the progress on my other towers, so you can get an idea of how fast things do actually grow in this system. every fucking time with these private goddamn tests. So here we are at the end of the video. What you see behind me is about 6 weeks worth of growth for our lettuce tower and about 12 weeks worth of growth for our tomato tower. Now keep in mind, an older, more well-established system like the one that you see behind me is going to grow your plants a lot quicker than the new system that we just built. We left it off at 3 weeks, but as I go along the video series, I'm going to give you updates on the growth of that system as well. If you enjoyed this video, please check out the next video where I'm going to be going over maintenance daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. Thanks for watching.